So I found out the truth about the Tractor Supply store. This video may seem like it's going to go in a lot of different directions, but it's all going to conclude at the end and how everything's going to get tied together. This is actually pretty incredible. So you may have heard that Tractor Supply possibly is selling chicken food that is causing their hens to not lay eggs anymore. There's a lot of YouTubers out there who are saying that the chickens went into molt and that this is not true. Then other people who have been having problems said, hey, I did experiments with my chickens. Half of my chickens I put on sunflower seeds and half my chickens I put on Tractor Supply food, and the sunflower seed chickens started producing again. Tractor Supply store, the food chickens did not. Now, that being said, I've had 2 comments in the comment section telling me that that's not true. They have chickens and the Tractor Supply's food that they feed them isn't hurting their chickens at all. But they're lying. It's incredible. One person said, I have 12 hens and I get 12 eggs a day. Tractor Supply. Well, they're lying. You don't get 12 eggs a day from 12 hens. It's not possible. I don't care what chickens you have, especially in winter. You're not going to get 1 egg from a chicken every day. It just doesn't happen. So this tells me that even the conspirators are on my channel, or they're trolls. I don't know, but it seems like anytime I mention Tractor Supply, I get a lot of comments that seem very fishy or just straight up lying. So that's interesting to me. There is a lot of speculation about what's going on in the world as to why egg prices are so high, why there's a bird flu going around. A lot of people don't believe in this bird flu, and I'm kind of one of them. As many precautions as the hatchery took for me to come into their store to pick up my chickens, I had to bleach my feet and dry my feet. You would think that people who raise chickens for a living and sell eggs and chickens would take precautions so their birds don't get the bird flu. I know they do. So how did their chickens in a confinement get bird flu from wild, large birds like geese and ducks flying through? Now, what they're saying is some farmer picked up droppings from the geese or the ducks that flew over that had the bird flu contamination. When they went into the chicken coop, it spread to the chickens that way. But again, you have to bleach your feet. I'm sure they put booties on their shoes, or they have to change out their shoes. I just don't see it possible. But something like 30 or 40 million chickens in the last year have been killed very inhumanely because of the bird flu. Well, now chicken confinements are burning down all over the world. I think there was one in New Zealand just recently, 70,000 birds. Then there was one in Connecticut, 100,000 birds. California and New Zealand both put restrictions on farmers saying that they had to give their chickens more room, which means that now they're going to have less chickens per square yard, square foot, or whatever you want to call it. So that's going to raise prices and it's going to cause shortages. So there is a real push to get eggs off the market. But the question is why? Well, there's a lot of speculation. But the speculation is even hitting pretty mainstream newspapers as to what's going on. There is a new food pyramid. It's actually called a Nutrition Profile system. I got my notes here, so I'll be looking over every few seconds. Now, we all are familiar from high school, the food pyramid. And it told us how many servings of food we could have in each food group. Well, they are in the process of changing it. There is a university, and it's called, get this, it's a long name, Freeman School of Nutritional Science and Policy of Tufts University. I think it's Tufts. So they did a big study, and they determined that eggs and beef are bad for you. So they have this scale, and at the top of the scale, it has little lines going across, and it tells you in green, these food items are green, they're good to go. And it gives you basically a percentage of, yeah, this is good, all the way from 100% down to 0%. So it's a grading scale, like A, B, C, like high school. So they said eggs got 29%. Now, you have to understand, eggs have all the nutritional value that you need. It has everything you need in it for nutrition. You can live off eggs. They're actually considered a superfood. So they gave eggs down there at the bottom. They also said beef, which also has all the nutritional value that you need. and they said it is a 26%. So they both rated F on this new scale. And now at the top of the scale, they had like raspberries, which is, oh yeah, raspberries, that's a good food. Although it doesn't have all the nutritional value you need, you'd have to supplement other things with the raspberry. But then you start looking down the line, and then it's got frosted mini wheats, 87%, which is like a, what, B+? And several other cereals, like dozens. Well, I don't know if dozens, but a dozen at least. Other cereal brands saying that they were high in nutritional value. If it's in the A category, you know, the green category, then you could eat this cereal every day. Frosted mini wheats. I mean, that's sugar. There's sugar in it. Of course, it's got wheats in it, but it's got sugar. In the C category, they had like no-fat chocolate pudding. It's like sugar, no fat, but it's got plenty of sugar. Turns out that the researcher was paid by Post Cereal and Kellogg Cereal. So all the cereals were up here at the top, and all the things that are of real nutritional value is down at the bottom. But why? Why do they want to do this? Well, there's answers to this. The government has not implemented this new food profile. But schools are already starting to convert over to the new food groups. So they're starting to feed your children cereal instead of eggs and meat, hamburger, whatever. I mean, it was bad enough they were feeding them the garbage before, sodas and carbohydrates and breads and all that. Now, remember, I am a carnivore, so I am looking forward to the day that I can eat just eggs. People are going to argue with me and say you can't do that. I've said in previous videos, I used to eat like everybody else, and I was sick. I had asthma, arthritis in my shoulder. But now I'm eating what I'm not supposed to be eating. I'm eating what's bad for me, and I'm healthy. The asthma's went away, the arthritis went away, I'm feeling great. So you can argue all you want that my diet is bad, but there are a lot of doctors on YouTube. And it's not that I just watch the YouTube video and say, okay, this guy's smart. There's 3 that I've been watching pretty faithfully, and I look into what they're telling me. And yes, their studies that they're quoting are real studies, but they're buried. Why do they want to do this? Well, there's several reasons. One, there is speculation that one of our software developers, he's retired now, is investing in these studies that says cereal is good, eggs are bad. The reason is because back in 2013, he invested in fake eggs. Well, now he's wanting his fake eggs to pay off, just like Beyond Beef. Beyond Beef is about ready to go bankrupt. It's terrible. All the elitists invested in this, so they're trying to figure out ways to make beef and eggs bad and all this garbage good. Well, I mean, you look at the back of a package of some of this garbage, and it's just chemicals. Now, here's what's interesting. All of human history, we've eaten eggs and meat. We've been eating processed foods and chemicals for 100 years, and that is supposed to be better for us. Our bodies are not adapted to this garbage. And so then when we talk about the obesity level in the country, it's like, what's causing obesity? Well, it's because we completely changed our diet to garbage. And now we have a food pyramid telling us to eat garbage. What is strange is I will get people in the comment section trying to defend carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is sugar. There is no such thing as good carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, no matter where it comes from, whether it's a fruit or from grains made into pasta or bread, it's the same carbohydrates. It's sugar. It's all it is. I have learned from the doctors that I watch on YouTube that your body is lazy. When you feed it fat or when you feed it carbohydrates, it's like, hey, look at that carbohydrates. I can burn that real quick. That's no problem. It's easy to burn. And so it burns the carbohydrates and stores the fat. But if you get off carbohydrates, you're forcing your body to eat fat. And it's like, oh, man. So it starts to eat the fat, and then you start to lose weight, and you start to get healthy, and all of a sudden the inflammation caused by carbohydrates and vegetables goes away. Asthma, arthritis goes away. But you can't convince anybody of this because we have elitists out there telling us that the garbage, frosted mini wheats, is at the top of the food pyramid. Well, we all know that's insane. How is this possible? But there are people, and they will be in the comment section telling me, oh no, you got to have carbohydrates. And telling me that even though I feel healthy, that I am not. Well, I would rather die eating unhealthy and feeling as good as I do than live in the misery that I was living on buying the medications, the asthma medications and inflammation medications, and eventually I'd be so old that I'd have to get on all the opioids and all the garbage that the pharmaceuticals. So look at it. It amazes me that people will continue to tell me that I'm wrong, but then will agree with me that the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors and big food companies aren't out to get us. But what it is it's a carbohydrate addiction. I know when I smoked, you could not convince me that cigarettes were bad. Couldn't do it. But when I actually gave them up and I started looking at the ingredients in cigarettes, I thought, my goodness, what have I been doing to myself all these years? So addictions tell your brain some crazy stuff. And so carbohydrates is telling your brain, you need me. And so you try to defend it, even though you know that it's bad for you. So when we move on to the Tractor Supply Store, we know now that the elitists want us to get rid of eggs out of our diet. And I've told you all the reasons why. So how are they going to do this? If everybody owns backyard chickens. So recently I told you there is a shortage on birds. I know I get a lot of people telling me, oh, you can get birds from here or there. And I do appreciate all the information. The problem is it's too late. We want to raise chickens in the springtime. So like March, no later than May. After May, like in June and July and August, you'll raise them, but they won't be ready to lay eggs until the very next year. They'll go all the way through winter before they lay eggs. But if you get them in March, they'll start laying in September. And that's what we want, is we want to be able to lay them in September. If worse comes to worse, I will just go get a rooster and I'll incubate egg. Then they take Tractor Supply food and they make it in a fashion that chickens are no longer laying eggs. So there isn't newspaper. Now, I will admit that it is considered by mainstream media to be a far-right conspiracy theory newspaper. People are going to get in the comment section and say, that's not a reputable newspaper. Okay, disclaimer out of the way. So you take the rest of the information for what it's worth. So the Natural News did a study, and they said that the Purina chicken food at Tractor Supply Store has double the amount of glyphosate in it, which is a chemical that they use for a herbicide on your farms. Here's what's interesting. The EPA says glyphosate is safe. However, Roundup was sued and lost a big lawsuit for all the cancer that glyphosate causes people. So it was a class action lawsuit. Also, the WHO says it's a carcinogenic, you shouldn't be using it. Now, this Natural News is going to make a video about this in the next week. So we'll have more information next week about all the specifics and how much of this glyphosate is in it. I'm not saying that that's what's causing a reduction in eggs. A lot of people saying it's because they didn't put enough protein into food. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about wet firewood. So if I can inspire you to eat good food so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.